Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. That includes Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. All three very different and honestly very interesting. Gonna go over it with you today. So sit back, relax, get yourself your favorite snack and beverage, and let's do this. So we start off with Monday Night Raw, which starts off with Wade Barrett in the ring, and he introduces his new broadcast partner, Joe Tessitore. He's done stuff for the NFL, NHL, I think he's done a little MLB. And overall, his first night was pretty darn good. He did screw up some things, but I'm not going to let it affect my enjoyment. Plus, it's his first night. Cut him a little bit of slack. We then get a video recap of Bash in Berlin, because of course we do. Then start off with a promo from Rhea Bloody Ripley. She starts off saying, "Feels so good to be back here, and I'm feeling better after Bash in Berlin, but I am clearly not done with the Judgment Day. I'm just getting started. At Bash in Berlin, I clearly pinned the women's champion, and I'm going to get back the one thing I never lost, the women's chip. And before anything more can come out comes, of course, Dirty Dominic Mysterio." And he tries to start talking. The crowd starts booing, which, honestly, just let the man talk. It costs you nothing. Rhea then says, "No one wants to hear you talk, mate. So why don't you go backstage, get Liv for me before I give you another black eye." And that's when I notice, not only does Dom have a big old black eye, looks like he has a popped blood vessel in his eye, which I've had those. Those aren't fun. Like, those hurt. Unless it's just, like, really good makeup, in which, WWE, good job with that. Dom then says, "Liv is still recovering from what you did to her at Bash in Berlin. You took advantage of me and Liv. We've had jet lag. We had zero sleep for many reasons." Sexual innuendo. Love that. "But I'm out here to tell you, Liv will accept your challenge. Just because she's banged up, she's not afraid of you. She's beaten you before, she'll do it again." And then Rhea, with the comeback of the century, said, "I'm going to put this so you understand it. If Liv doesn't want to face me, send her a message. I'll face her anytime, any place." Before Rhea can reach Dom, Liv Morgan attacks Rhea from behind. But that was unsuccessful as Rhea knocks her down. Rhea then tries to go after Dominic. Liv attacks Rhea from behind. Rhea then takes a weird tumble where she ends up with her leg caught up in the ropes, which that looked terrifying. And as Dom and Liv are beaten down on Rhea, Priest comes out and makes the save as Liv and Dom bail over the barricade through the crowd. I'm going to say this. That was a scary looking spot. Anything that involves the ropes and a part of the body, I'm always going to because it always gets to me. I don't know what it is. Hopefully Rhea's okay, because that definitely looks scary, and she was clearly affected by it throughout the show. I'll get to that in 2 seconds. But it's definitely cool we're going to be seeing Rhea versus Liv at some point. I don't know if we're going to see it at Bad Blood, which I think would make sense. That's WWE's next pay-per-view. And yes, I'm going to call it a pay-per-view. Or if they're going to save it, play up the Rhea injury for a while longer, and then do it at Survivor Series? Which I guess kind of makes sense. I'm not sure. I'm definitely interested in seeing where this story goes. We then see American Made. They're backstage with Chad Gable taking the lead, saying, "I'm sick of us all losing to the Wyatts. I will not be put in this position again. Now why don't we go out and show them what we're made of?" And then, as the Creed brothers are going out, he gets face to face with, I think it was Julius, and then just slaps him one, in which, damn, that looked intense. So then we cut to a different part backstage. It's Rhea Ripley. She's kind of fighting off some medical personnel, fighting off, but she's like, no, don't check on me. I'm fine. Then Priest comes in, says, "Look, I get it. I'm going to go see Adam Pearce. I'm going to find out if I can't get a hand on someone from Judgment Day. But you need to let these guys do their work." So then Rhea's like, yeah, okay. So they take a look at her. Which, definitely understand that. Again, I hope Rhea's okay. I hope this isn't like a legitimate injury. Because that would stink. She just came back from injury. Then we have this mixed 6-man tag match as American Made. So that's Brutus, Julius, Creed, and Ivy Nile taking on Alpha Academy. That's Akira Tozawa, Otis, and Maxine Dupri. I'm going to say this. This is one thing that irks me. I know Chad Gable allowed them to keep using the Alpha Academy name. Why are they? Like, that's one thing that's weird to me. Why are Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine still using this name associated with their oppressor, Chad Gable? I don't know. I feel like it's time for a name change to something else. Like maybe the Otis Academy or something. I don't know. Something fun. Because Otis is clearly over. Anyway, everyone gets in the ring besides, Chad Gable. He's in ringside. They just start brawling all over the place until it's left to Tozawa and Brutus Creed. They kind of start off a little well. Julius tags in with a big old gut buster. This was honestly a really, really fun matchup. Really good back and forth. With Otis hitting a caterpillar, which always gets me. I love that move. Then Maxine with an awesome reverse caterpillar, which that looked cool as heck. But ultimately, once that happens, Chad Gable gets on the apron. Ivy Nile gets in, gets Maxine in a Dragon Sleeper for the submission victory. And that was definitely a solid win from American Made. Then Chad Gable gets in the ring to celebrate with his teammates. He has a microphone. He then says, "An applause for the winners tonight in American Made." And then he replies to the "You suck" chant, in which adapting that to Chad Gable was difficult, but I think it works. So, anyway, he continues. Should have been a clear one-on-one last week between me and Uncle Howdy, but I see what it's going to take to beat him. So next week, it's going to be an 8-person tag match. And make sure it's the end. We're going to have ourselves a street fight. Whoa. And we're going to get rid of the the Wyatts for good for America. Lights start going out. Music starts playing. Out comes at first just Uncle Howdy, who has a microphone, which is very, very interesting. Anyway, Howdy then says, 375 days, my sanity has crumbled. My path is the void now, but I can still hear. My life is no longer mine. If this is the path you've chosen, it's a gamble you're very well being, and we will collect that debt. Out comes the rest of the White Six to surround Uncle Howdy. That's going to be a crazy match. I cannot wait to see that. Going to be a lot of fun. Next match up, we got Zelina Vega taking on Shayna Baszler. With this is Zelina trying to get some revenge on the Shayna Baszler and her crew. Blanking on the name, I'm sorry. Vega definitely comes out white hot, tries to take advantage, hits a low 619 and to a drop kick. Only gets a 2 count, goes for a regular 619, hits that, goes for a Meteora. Shayna Baszler gets her legs up, gets her in the roll-up for the pinfall victory. So, kind of a nothing match, but I do get the point of this match for Vega trying to get her revenge. Post-match, the Shayna Baszler and her crew surround Zelina Vega, start a beatdown. Out to make the save is Lyra Valkyria. It has been way too long since I've seen her on TV. She tries to make the save, but the numbers are too great as it's 3-on-2. With all the women hitting their finishers on the two of them. And then Sonya Deville gets on the mic saying, "It's time you all show me some respect. This reminds me how pathetic everyone in that locker room is. No man can take us home. No woman can stop us. Want to take us up? Shoot your shot." That was a very weird promo, but I do understand what she's trying to say. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where this one goes. Next, we cut to backstage. It's Rhea Ripley. She's on her feet, but she's on a crutch. So, we'll see what happens. Priest then walks in and he's like, "Hey, you okay?" Then Rhea's like, "Yeah, it's just precautionary." Priest then reveals that he's going to be having a match with Finn Balor, but only in a tag team match. So then Priest asks Rhea, "You got someone in mind? Let me know." Rhea then says, "Yeah, I got someone in mind." Then as Priest is walking off, he says, "Let me know what he says." Yeah, we're gonna see that a little bit later. Although we'll get to it. So then we see Zelina Vega and Lyra Valkyria backstage. They're in the back. They're kind of on equipment boxes for whatever reason. With Vega saying, "Look, I'm sick of this attacks. I'm sick of Shayna and her group. It's time for us to fight back." Lyra then says, "I got an idea," as they walk off. This wasn't followed up on tonight, but my guess is they're probably going to go to Damage Control. That's my thought. And then we get the PG Punk promo, aka CM Punk. He comes out, he gets, big pop he gets on the microphone, he says, "I never get sick of hearing it. Let me hear you." He incites the crowd to cheer more. Yeah, let's keep going. We're celebrating tonight. Needed to make a pit stop here to celebrate with you all. Who saw Bash in Berlin? That strap match was hell. Well, we're on the other side of a personal business. Now I get to get down to business. And clearly I'm a businessman. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And I'm going to take money however I can get it. Speaking of Bash in Berlin, there's one other person to go through hell like me. Gunther. What I mean with my business, you took Randy to the limit. Nothing could replace the chip on your shoulder with that belt. It's time for CM Punk to wake up as champion. And Gunther, congratulations. I'm going to enjoy taking it off of you. The goal is gold. The target is CM Gunther. And as he's celebrating with the crowd, we see a hooded figure attack CM Punk from behind. And of course, it is Drew McIntyre, who just brutalizes CM Punk for a while. Then Wade Barrett gets up from the announcer's table, tries to pull Drew McIntyre off of Punk. They both start to leave. Then Drew turns around, hits a Claymore on Punk. He tosses Punk back into the ring, hits another Claymore. Hits a few stomps until officials come out to try and stop him. Drew then looks down at Punk's wrists, sees that damn bracelet again. He then takes the bracelet off of CM Punk's wrist, looks at it for a second, then starts stretching it. Just stretching it, until it snaps. It just breaks, the beads fall all over. So then Drew takes the beads, shoves them into CM Punk's mouth, hits another Claymore, which, that was brutal. A little bit more of a beatdown, but then officials come out, they finally break up the beating, as officials put Punk on a stretcher and gets taken out of the arena. But before he can make it to the ambulance, Drew McIntyre attacks him again. Then officials get Drew off of Punk on the stretcher, gets him into the ambulance. That moment was a long time coming. I feel like that should have been the first thing Drew did when he got the bracelet. But I popped for that. Like, that was such a good moment. And now, hopefully, this feud can end at Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. I think that's what we've been building to. And, and as for the other news, Punk getting a world title shot. I don't mind him getting a title shot. He doesn't need a title. Like, I'll say this. When he won the AEW world title, and this was even before the whole All Out incident, I feel like Punk didn't really need a title. He's already a super decorated superstar. So him holding a title just kind of feels pointless, you know? He's a superstar with or without a title belt. I think Gunther needs the win a little bit more. Anyway, that's my TED Talk for now. We then go to our first of two triple threats for the #1 contendership for the Intercontinental title. Already in the four-way for this coming Monday is Jey Uso and... it's Jey Uso and someone else. I forget who. In this one, we have Dominic Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Ilya Dragunov. And it's pretty much started off with the Dominic beatdown. Eventually, Ilya did turn on Dragon Lee. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. Until eventually, out comes Carlito, who pushes Dragon Lee off the top rope. This brings out Damian Priest, who brawls with Carlito. Dom then fights off Priest for a little while. Until Damian Priest, who wants to get his hands on Dom, chases Dom out of the arena. So this match finishes as a 1-on-1. And honestly, these two put on a masterclass. With Ilya Dragunov picking up the win after a Torpedo Moscow. Which is... oh, he fits right in. I do kind of hope Ilya Dragunov is the man to take the title off of Braun Breaker. Or at least challenges for him. But we'll see. Then we get a little highlight of Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman from last week. We then see an Adam Pearce interview. He's back in his office saying, oh, I've widened my search far and wide to find a replacement for Bronson Reed, who actually came down with COVID-19. Feel better soon, Mr. Reed. That is not a fun disease. Who walks in but Bronson Reed's victim from last week, Braun Strowman. He's all taped up. His arm is a little mangled. With Braun Strowman saying, I want to replace Reed in this match tonight. Then Pearce said, look, if medical tells you can go, you're in. And Braun says, thank you. So, there's your replacement. We'll get to that in 2 minutes. Then we see the new women's tag team champions. They head out to commentary for this next match and our number one contenders match for the women's tag titles. As the former champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, the Unholy Union, take on Io Sky and Kairi Sane of Damage Control. And this match to start was a whole lot of fun. Like, really, really good back and forth. Fire and Dawn are so underrated. The thing that got me here was Kairi Sane. She was on the top rope. She goes kind of for a spear elbow drop to the outside onto Fire and Dawn, who then get moved somehow. So she kind of flies over Belair, hits her head onto the announce desk, and that was terrifying. So, Sane hopefully is okay. Io eventually gets tagged in with the Unholy Union hitting their Gory Special Facebuster tag team combination for the win. And as the Unholy Union are celebrating on the ramp, Damage Control get into Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair's face. So, again, match was fine. I hope Kairi Sane is okay. Because that was definitely a brutal looking bump. Like, oof. So then we see backstage that Kofi Kingston is talking with Adam Pearce about New Day getting a tag team title shot, considering Judgment Day hasn't defended them in a while. Gunther walks in, takes one look at Kofi, just smiles, and walks off. So, that's a little bit weird because of the whole thing with Odyssey Jones. Not going to go too far into that. You could look that up for yourselves. But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting situation. We then cut once again to Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest backstage, with Priest asking Rhea, "Is your guy in?" Rhea nods. "Did he say yes?" Rhea says, "No." Priest asks, "So what did he say?" "Yeet." So that is pretty much confirmed that Damian Priest's partner for the main event is main event Jey Uso. So, nice little spot for him. We then get a Gunther in-ring promo. Definitely good to see him. World champion, getting a nice spot. Saying, on Saturday, Bash in Berlin was the highest grossing date of an arena show for WWE, and you're looking at the man responsible for it. And tonight, I have more to celebrate. I beat Randy Orton. I've said a lot of personal things to him. I wrestled the greatest, the best version of Randy Orton. But at the end of the day, he was just another chapter of my legacy. And before Gunther continue, out comes a returning Sami Zayn. And honestly, I forgot he was out for a bit. So it was nice to see him back. Sami Zayn gets in the ring. He gets on the microphone. Says, "It's crazy to me listening to what you're talking about and thinking about where I'm going. While the Intercontinental title is the workhorse title, you forgot to mention a few greats. Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, etc., etc. Use that title to eventually get to the world title. And that's exactly what you did, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Because Gunther, I want that world heavyweight title." Gunther then gets on the microphone saying, "You're right. I used the Intercontinental title as a stepping stone. And then whenever you held that title, you stepped down. Your name, it clearly is on that list. But I will give you something. Whenever you get knocked down, you get back up. You're going to challenge me for the world title. I hear that passion in your voice. I see that fire in your eyes. You really want this?" My answer is no. And Gunther then leaves the ring. He's heading up the ramp. Before he can get to the back, Sami Zayn's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait a second. I've watched you your entire career. You've never backed down for a fight. As good as you are, I'm the only guy to have ever beaten you. Do I have your attention now? I'm coming for you, Gunther, and I'm going to become world champion." Heck yes. This is what I love about the new WWE under Triple H's creative. We acknowledge what happened in the past. The last man to beat Gunther was Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 40 for the Intercontinental title. And now Sami is trying to do what Gunther did. And a whole lot of other people. This is great. This is great storytelling. I can't wait for this. We then get in a backstage interview from main event Jey Uso, who says, "I'm going to get through this tournament, going to turn all the way up and win the Intercontinental title." In comes the Intercontinental Champion himself, Braun Breaker, who then reiterates, "There's never been a family member of yours to beat one of mine. I'm going to give you one chance to walk away, and you can keep chasing Dom's sloppy seconds, but if you come for me, you're going to lose." Jey then kind of takes off his sunglasses, looks at Braun Breaker for a minute, then says, "Don't worry about me. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to win this tournament. I'm going to win that title and beat your ass doing it. Definitely some fighting words from Jey Uso. We then go to our final tournament qualifying match for the Intercontinental title, as it's Braun Strowman taking on Sheamus, taking on Ludwig Kaiser. And this match felt a little bit limited. Like, Strowman definitely was his usual monster self, although a little held back because of the injury, or at least selling of the injury. Kaiser at one point tried to do his running dropkick into the ring steps, but he gets absolutely destroyed by one of the announcers' chairs by Braun Strowman. Sheamus goes for a bro kick, but from behind is Pete Dunne, who is the other participant in the four-way for this week. Decks Sheamus with a shillelagh from behind. Strowman with a splash into a power slam to pick up the win. So, yeah, that's quite the fatal four-way for this coming week. Definitely going to be interesting to see who comes out of this. More than likely, it's Jey Uso, because he's had the most interaction with Braun Breaker I've seen out of the four. Speaking of Jey Uso, we see him backstage. He's getting ready with Damian Priest. Priest then turns to Jey Uso. He says, look, we obviously got some beef to squash. Jey Uso then says, look, this is just like you. I was not saying no to Rhea. Whatever beef we got, let's put it behind us and focus on the now. Priest says, okay, and then they continue, getting ready. Then we see Pete Dunne. He's walking backstage. Interviewer catches up with him, with Dunne saying, look, just saying this was a message from an old friend. And as he's walking off, the interviewer says, oh, so this is a message from Butch. Pete Dunne gets some murder in his eyes, turns around, says, don't you call me Butch again, and then walks off. Oh, I love this version of Pete Dunne. But can we stop with the Butch stuff? I'm kind of getting sick of that. Anyway, now it's time for our Raw main event. And it's a doozy. As Damian Priest teams up with main event Jey Uso to take on JD McDonough and Finn Balor, aka the World Tag Team Champions of the Judgment Day. And I honestly forgot they had these titles. It has been so long since I've seen them. Anyway, definitely a bit even to start with Priest trying to get his hands on Finn Balor. Finn Balor then tags into JD, and Priest just goes to town on JD McDonough. Eventually, Jay gets in, hits a massive looking hip attack into an enziguri. Finn Balor eventually gets in, hits a nasty looking leg drop. Eventually, some tag team speciality by Balor and JD, who hit a senton into a moonsault, only for a 2 count. They keep going with the back and forth. Priest gets in, tries for a South of Heaven, that gets blocked into a roll-up, only for a 2. And Finn Balor gets in, hits a 1916, only for a 2 count. More tag strategy from Judgment Day, who are getting in and out. Eventually, Jey Uso gets in, hits a clothesline, crossbody, couple of super kicks, spear, goes for an Uso splash, but as Finn Balor is distracting the ref, JD knocks him off the top rope. Finn Balor eventually does get in, hits a sling blade, drop kick, coup de grace, JD McDonough in with a moonsault, only for a 2 count. Then Liv Morgan comes out. She's kind of distracting the ref while the rest of Judgment Day attack Priest and Jey Uso. And then music hits. It's Rhea Ripley. She's kind of limping on her crutch, but she's out here. She's ready to go. Liv then gets right into Rhea's face, making fun of her limp. Then Rhea looks up at Liv Morgan, smiles, picks up the crutch from the behind, and just starts going after Liv with the crutch. Rhea eventually chases Liv Morgan off, although Rhea is still limping. So, this is why I think this is real. Back in the ring, Priest and Jey Uso get advantage back. Priest going for a Razor's Edge, that gets blocked. Jimmy with a spear. Both of them hit a couple Razor's Edges. Jay then tags in, hits a Uso splash for the victory for him and Damian Priest. So, relationships between these guys are going to be interesting. We'll see where this goes. Considering now, Jey Uso and Damian Priest have tag team win over the tag team champions, which to me means maybe they deserve a title shot. I don't know. Talk to Triple H about it. Yeah, this was definitely a very entertaining episode of Raw. Was it perfect? No. Far from it. Like I said, I hope Rhea's okay. It does seem like it's a bit more of a real injury, unless I'm getting totally worked. And then, of course, Kairi Sane with her hitting her face on the announce table. That looked rough. I hope she's okay. But yeah, overall, storytelling, great. In-ring action, awesome. Except for that second triple threat Intercontinental title tournament. That was a little off. But overall, entertaining show. Gonna be interesting to see more of the build for Bad Blood. So, that was Raw. We now move into NWA Power, also known as Back to the Territories. This is their special episode. They are in a school gymnasium, which I know a lot of people, it's not an arena, make fun. I think a school gym is actually kind of unique looking. Like, obviously you don't have the thousands of fans in attendance, but having it in a school arena is kind of unique. I dig it. It's definitely a smaller crowd, but it's a more intimate crowd. And it does feel like they're into it a little bit more. So, first thing we see is highlights from the Matt Cardona's Gauntlet match, in which that's won by Kobe Carino. He then gets a world title shot a bit later in the night. I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. So then we get a Kobe Carino hype video. We then cut to in-ring post-gauntlet match. It's Kobe Carino, it's the interviewer. Out comes Matt Cardona, who starts out kind of babyfacey saying, "Oh, Knoxville is so great. Just kidding, Knoxville sucks." Which, that shit gets me. Cardona knows this business way better than anyone gives him credit for. Anyway, so he continues. You need to show me some respect. For tonight, we should switch NWA to MCWA because tonight I'm in charge. With Billy Corgan not here tonight, with him being on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, I was the only one he could trust with the NWA. So tonight, I run the show. We got a lot of great action tonight, but later on, you, Kobe, you have the biggest opportunity in your career. You're the hell of a talent. But I'm going to say this. Do not take EC3 lightly. Kobe Carino then gets on the microphone and says, if it's all the same to you, I actually kind of like Knoxville, Tennessee. Then he continues, I'm going to volunteer a piece of my soul. I waited my entire life for this opportunity. All it takes to win a match is to bring a man down for 3 seconds. And there is no one I can't keep down for 3 seconds. I love the confidence in Kobe. We're going to talk about that match a little later on. Yeah, definitely a nice little promo from Kobe Carino. And also, I'm going to say this. A nice kind of visual transition because the introductions and the show starts like old school TV. Like back when the territories were a thing. It's grainy and kind of signal looks messed up. But then when things start, like this promo or this next match, it goes back to HD, which I find to be awesome. That's a nice little transition. So, our first official matchup of the night is for the NWA Women's TV title, as Natalia Markova takes on Max the Impaler. Now, Max, of course, holds both the men and the women's television title. And I think she's defended both enough times where she can get their title shot. And that's kind of what happened. As they're in the ring, the ref is about to hold up the title. But instead of handing over the title, Max just kind of drops it. And so the announcers are like, oh, what's she doing here? What's she doing? Is she cashing in? And now comes Matt Cardona, who I don't think we ever see in this segment, but he goes to the announcers and he says, yes, it's official. Max the Impaler is cashing in her Lucky 7 television title at a shot for the NWA Women's title at NWA 76. Making this match here not for the title. Definitely a controversial move, but I dig it. I think that's creative as heck. And it gives Markova more of a motivation in this match. So, like, she was ready for a title match, but now that gets taken away from her. That's great motivation. And that's a great way to use this cash-in stipulation. That's great. I love it. So, match starts with Markova pretty much pummeling Max the Impaler. Max does get some stuff in. Eventually, Markova gets Max up for the torture rack. Gets her in the ropes. Hits a beautiful destruction kick, which knocks Max over the top rope to the floor. But before Max can get in the ring, Father James Mitchell gets her in her ear. Says something to her. 7. 8. Still standing there. 9. 10. A count-out victory for Natalia Markova. More than likely, James Mitchell told her to save herself for the title match, which is very, very smart. This is not bad. I like this. It's going to piss off Natalya. Usually stuff like this pisses me off too, but I feel like this was a great way to protect Max, but also motivate Natalya, which is obviously great. I like this. Great idea, great creative. Moving on to a backstage interview with the NWA World Champion, EC3, who congratulates Colby Corino on earning his title shot. The thing about nepotism is there is no second generation star I can't beat. You waited for this opportunity. I've been doing this every day. I've been grinding. So, yeah, definitely some fighting words from the world champ. We don't go into this next matchup. It's for the NWA World Heavyweight title, as it's Colby Corino challenging EC3. Now, it first starts out a little slow because, it's EC3. Eventually, Colby Corino gets steps on the gas, hitting beautiful arm drags. It's a low sweep to EC3 legs. Goes for a senton. He misses. Eats a clothesline. EC3 then with a Fez press. Couple of stomps into a spine buster, only for 1 count. Colby fights back a little bit. It's a big old power bomb. Eventually, EC3 gets Colby into the Cobra Clutch, in which Colby Corino fights out. Hits EC3 with a massive knee strike, springboard cutter, hits a swanton bomb, an Olympic slam, and a sunsetter, which is a great name for a move, only for a 2 count. Gets EC3 up for the clothesline, hits it, goes for the big DDT, hits that, only gets a 2. EC3 gets up, hits a spear. Then EC3, with Colby Corino up top, EC3 knocks Colby into the referee, hits him with a quick pile driver to pick up the win. Definitely a creative match by the NWA in this. Very, very entertaining. Hopefully they keep Colby Corino in the world title picture, because I think he's definitely evolved past the junior heavyweight division. And then Fine Alamo. We got our main event, and it's for the NWA World Tag Team titles, as Blunt Force Trauma with Aaron Stevens defends against Knox and Murdoch with Eric Smalls in their corner. And honestly, this was a big old hoss fight, with Mike Knox hitting a big old body slam on Carnage. Damage then tags in, but doesn't get in the ring right away. Instead, they both go to the floor and converse with Aaron Stevens. All three of these guys go to leave, but then Knox and Murdoch stop them. They brawl on the outside for a little bit. Eventually, they get back in. Murdoch tags in, hits a few strikes, and then a full Nelson slam. Then Aaron Stevens gets up on the apron, loads up the glove, gets Murdoch. Then over comes Eric Smalls with a low blow to Stevens. Carnage eventually tags in, hits a couple of strikes, a couple of headbutts. Damage then tags in, hits a big old bow and arrow into the elbows. Carnage eventually gets in, misses on a big splash. Eventually, Murdoch tags into Mike Knox and starts running house. This was the best Knox has looked in a while. After a jawbreaker by Carnage, Stevens tosses Carnage his loaded glove. Carnage puts it on, but before he can do anything with it, Knox with a big old cross body. Knox then takes off the glove, puts it on his own hand. Big old strike to Aaron Stevens, and then to Damage. Big old drop kick by Noxie. Then tags in Murdoch, who hits the high-low for the win, and your new NWA World Tag Team Champions, Knox and Murdoch. This was definitely a hoss fight, and finally, BFT gets beaten. I am more than happy that it's Knox and Murdoch, and we'll see where it goes from there. I'm going to say this. Back to the Territories, for me, was a lot of fun. Definitely a great way to start. Can't wait to see what other matches and maybe even some surprises we get at this show. So, yeah, that was back to the Territories. We then finish up with, of course, my favorite show of the week, AEW Dynamite. And we start off with a fired up Daniel Garcia promo, who says, patience is obviously a virtue, but MJF, I am not waiting for All Out. I want to break your neck tonight. Then MJF kind of clears his throat. Garcia's kind of looking around. MJF is up, I want to say where usually some luxury boxes would be in an arena, but they're kind of in a smaller arena, so it's like where the concourse is, entrance is. So then MJF is on the microphone, he's up in the arena, says, Daniel, I don't want to ruin our big match for All Out, because I don't want any excuses when I paint the canvas in your blood. Before MJF can continue, Garcia interrupts saying, this is unbelievable. Anyone here believes anything you say? Crowd pretty much goes, no. Everything about you is fake, including your hair and your spray tan. But the fakest thing about you is your love of AEW. And I know we see the tattoo, but I'm sure that's fake too. We will never believe you. And before MJF can retaliate, Garcia says, no, I'm not done. I want you to suffer. MJF then finally replies and says, I was a fan until Daniel Garcia ended my career. Bravo! Danny learned how to speak. So much but you have so much maturing left to do. I did you a solid against Will Ospreay. These people used to love me. Then I got too big and they turned on me. You don't want their love, Danny. The bigger you get, the more they want to watch you fall. And I just want to make sure they can't hurt you like they did me. And I'm going to be doing so by putting you in a wheelchair. And then he says something derogatory about his mother, which sets Daniel Garcia off. He sprints right into the crowd, fights through security, and it looked like for a little while security had Garcia contained. He bolts out of there, goes right up to the section where MJF is, gets right into his face. A big old bottle shot from MJF. Now, no, I'm going to continue this. Then you see Daniel Garcia. He's up against the guardrail, blood dripping from his forehead. MJF still has a microphone, says, "You mind if I sit?" He sits down right next to Garcia, who is out like a light. MJF then says, "In this life, every man must go through hell to get to paradise. You've woken up something in me that's been dormant for a bit. I'm going to save you, and you can thank me later." Wow, this promo battle. This was awesome. One, this was the greatest promo Daniel Garcia has ever done. Very fired up that I actually believe he can win. But then MJF, while he did go for the low-hanging fruit, like, dang, I'm going to say this. Go watch this promo battle for yourself. Because holy heck, this got me really, really hyped for this show. And also, I don't know if that bottle was like a plastic bottle of Dasani or if it was a wine bottle. But dang, that looks like that hurt. Anyway, so next up, we cut to an interview with the Conglomeration backstage. They're all excited for the big tag match later. Their partner, Will Ospreay, walks in. He says, "It's been an absolute pleasure here. Mark, any words of wisdom?" Then Mark pretty much says, "I got this call from Kyle O'Reilly. He asks, can our partner Bill Will Ospreay?" I said, yeah, let's do it. Word of the day is stupendous, because this team here is stupendous. The Conglomeration has been turning into one of my favorite groups in wrestling. Like, I love the Bloodline, I love the Judgment Day, give me the Elite all day. There is just something so wholesome and fun that the Conglomeration bring that I absolutely love. And Tony Khan, can we get a Conglomeration t-shirt already? Like, for real, it's time. So after that little interview, we get to our first matchup of the evening, and it's for the Continental title as Kyle Fletcher challenges Kazuchika Okada. And honestly, I thought this was going to be a quick little squash match. They made Kyle Fletcher look like $1 billion. Like, these two went move for move, hold for hold. Fletcher even countered the Rainmaker a couple of times, which you don't see that every day. Couple points. Kyle Fletcher goes for the pile driver. That gets countered by Okada. Again, blocking the Rainmaker a couple times. Eventually, Fletcher does hit the pile driver, but that only gets the 2 count. As Fletcher is going to attack Okada more, Okada pulls the referee in the way. Fletcher pulls him out of the way. Okada with the low blow. Then finally gets the Rainmaker to pick up the win. And as Fletcher's laying there, who comes out to check on Fletcher? It's Konosuke Takeshita, who has been away in New Japan, taking part in the G1 Climax, in which he did really well. Then we get the start of this. Don't get ahead of me, because there's the finish of this show. I'll get there. So, on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it, we saw footage of Swerve Strickland buying his childhood home, which has been a dream of his. That's great. That's awesome. Nice wholesome moment. That's gonna get ruined later on in the night. Spoiler alert. We'll get to it. So next matchup, we got our first of two women's matches tonight. It's about dang time, Tony Khan. As we have Jamie Hayter taking on Robyn Renegade. It has definitely been a while since I've seen Robyn Renegade. She is still really, really good. This matchup was way too fast, though. Like, it kind of felt like they were just getting in a second gear when Hayter hit her a couple backbreakers into the Haterade to pick up the win. So, definitely good to see Jamie Hayter back. I do hope she is a future challenger for Mariah May's title, because that just makes sense. Then we get a Roderick Strong interview backstage. He's complaining about him having his foot on the ropes on last week's All-Star Tag match. Saying the ref didn't see it. Then Hook comes in. He's being held back by security. Then Hook says, "Roddy, you're not wrong. How about instead of complaining about it, let's settle this tonight for the FTW title." Roderick Strong then says, "You're funny. I'm not fighting you here in this podunk little town. I'm going to call my shot for the FTW title. You'll be the first to know when." So, yeah, definitely, it's definitely good to see Hook getting away from the Jericho Vortex, because he needs to get out of there, and it's time to do something a little different with Hook. I think he's evolved past having the FTW title. Anyway, next thing we see is Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir in ring promo, with Moxley asking, "I wonder if Darby Allin is here tonight." Of course he's not. Some time ago, I wrestled someone I didn't even know. I beat him up, and after the beatdown, he smiled at me. Darby Allin is his own man. He plays the game really well, and he knows to wrestle in this ring is a privilege, and it's not something you're entitled to. Darby, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. And then they walk off. This is intriguing. Like, this is some good mystery stuff. Is he going to ask Darby to join him in his new group? Is he going to feud with Darby? I don't know. And that is what's so intriguing about this. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with this group, but I am so intrigued. I can't wait to see what's next. Next up, we got an interview with the Learning Tree, with Jericho taking point, saying, "Cassidy, you don't realize what you did. Let me remind you." So they got to like 2019, or maybe it was 2020, where Jericho and the Inner Circle, which that's going way back, they're in the ring, they're confronting Cassidy. Cassidy then hits a button, bunch of orange juice pours all over them. So then we cut back to the interview, saying, $70,000 you owe me. So Brian, this Friday on Collision, Brian Keith is going to squeeze it all out of you. So then Cassidy walks in and says, "Look, I'm going to make this easy on you. Brian Keith, if you beat me, I'll pay every dollar in cash." Then Brian Keith says, "I'm going to make sure you pay the price." And then Jericho finished like Brian Keith usually does with the promos, "Pay the price." Which Oh man, that match is going to be interesting. As it's also a number one contenders match for a 4-way for Okada's Continental title at All Out. So that's going to be a fun watch. We then go to our next match, and it's for the AEW Women's title, as Mariah May takes on the second AEW Women's Champion, the native beast, Nyla Rose. And at first, Mariah May just slaps Nyla Rose in the face. Eventually, that gets Nyla Rose into it. Rose tries for a beast bomb, but that gets countered. They counter everything back and forth really well. At one point, Nyla Rose has Mariah May set up for her big leg drop in the ropes, but May gets out of it. Nyla Rose with a big old hip attack. Goes for the beast bomb again, that gets blocked. Mariah May with a big old crossbody that gets caught into a power slam. Like almost immediately. That was crazy. Mariah May then rose to the outside of the ring. The ref checks on her. Eventually they get back up and get back inside. Where Mariah May just hits the Storm Zero on Nyla Rose to retain her title. I'm going to say this. I really enjoyed this match. It was really, really good. I was hoping for a little bit more follow-up for the Mariah May title win. But, yeah, I think we'll get our story. We then get a nice little vignette backstage with Deonna Purrazzo, trying to get her way back on track. We then get a Mercedes Moné in-ring promo saying she's feeling quite the way. I just defended my strong women's title against Momo Watanabe. And there's someone feeling another kind of way, Hikaru Shida. If you're the ace of AEW, why aren't you holding this? I'm not only the face of the women's division, I'm the face of TBS and this entire company. And you're going to learn a lesson. There's a price to pay when you face Moné. And that leads to Hikaru Shida appearing on the big screen. With Shida starting out saying, "You're a pin away from a new TBS champion. You cannot beat the ace," showing off a new t-shirt. Then Christopher Daniels comes in with a big old announcement saying, "Camille, who is in the ring with Moné, you're a great competitor, but you've been getting into shenanigans ringside in one of these matches. So for this match at All Out, you're going to be banned for ringside." Shida then gets back on. She says, "I know you know a little bit of Japanese, Moné. Let me say something. Sayonara, bitch." Taking a little jab at Okada, too. That match is going to be absolutely underrated. Then we see a promo backstage. They're in some bunker somewhere of the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, with Nicholas saying Jack has something to say. So Jack says, 3 years ago, I was in the ring for my first time when Bryan Danielson debuted, and then and there I knew I wanted to wrestle him. When I heard while I was out injured that Bryan was retiring, I knew my door was closing. I knew my career, someone like you could have helped me, but didn't. So Saturday, it's not going to be a happy ending. So then Nicholas gets the mic back, says, Danielson, we're going to do anything possible to get the AEW title back where it belongs. The Elite. So definitely some fighting words from the Elite when we're going to get there in a little bit. As Bryan Danielson is out on commentary for this next match, as it's the Trios champions, that's Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club, along with their partner Pac, who, honestly, let's face it, should be a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, takes on Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy of the Conglomeration, and Will freaking Ospreay. And this match, while absolutely chaotic, it absolutely ruled. Like, this matchup was everything I could have asked. And of course, you had the little moments with Pac and Ospreay, who are having their match on Saturday. So yeah, really, really good back and forth between all of these guys. But eventually, the winners of the match, via the giant swing dropkick combination, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and the bastard Pac. Now Bryan Danielson, he gets up off the commentary and joins the BBC to celebrate. Then from behind comes Okada, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry of the Elite, who jump all four of them. Jack Perry then gets a chair. They have Danielson dead to rights. The Blackpool Combat Club then fight off the Elite. Danielson then gets the chair. He has Jack Perry in his sights, but the Elite slide him out of the ring. They're walking up the ramp. Then Claudio gets on the microphone, says, "You kids make the biggest mistake of your life. I've been in a mood to collect more gold, and I'm looking at you, Bucks, your tag team titles. And Yuta and I have nothing to do at All Out, so why isn't it us versus you for the tag team titles?" Then Claudio passes Danielson the microphone, says, "As for you, Jack, I'm sick of seeing you. But I gather one thing, at All Out, you're going to get your head kicked in." Actually, at one point during the match, Pac and Ospreay actually brawl to the back, so they kind of lose that element of it. Then post, Claudio calling out the Bucks, we see Pac and Ospreay brawling in the back. They're up on an equipment box. Pac with a big old suplex to Will Ospreay. And Pac says to Ospreay, "See you Saturday." So that was our main event. Definitely an interesting angle with that match. And then we get our main event contract signing between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. So Swerve and Nana, their music hits. They come out first. Then Hangman Page music hits. He doesn't come out. Tony Schiavone says, "Alright, let's try this once more." Hangman Adam Page, music hits again. Not coming out. So then, Hangman is shown up on the Titantron, and it's clear it's in front of Swerve Strickland's childhood home. Uh-oh. So Swerve says pretty much into the camera, "You honestly thought I was going to be at a contract signing for a match we know is going to happen? Swerve, you had it all, but you messed up. But now you've showed me something important to you. He then goes into the house and he hears something pouring while he keeps talking. I see it now. Your family not really getting along. I can tell your father didn't love you. What a world it would have been if you were just never born. Now you're going to wonder why I'm here. You'll already know. You watched me with my pregnant wife. And now I had a choice to make between hate and success, vengeance and peace. But then I thought, that's not much of a choice. As he continues to dump gasoline outside the house, goes to the outside to this kind of setup where it's like an easy chair and like a side table. So he sits down. I told you I'm going to burn your world down. And I'm going to take what's left. The night is still young, but I'm giving you a chance to say goodbye. Say goodbye to your health, your joy, and your happiness. But we can practice now with your childhood home. Then Hangman lights up a lighter, tosses it to the side, as Swerve's childhood home is engulfed in flames. Oh, I love this feud. I absolutely love this feud. If you're still the one saying, AEW doesn't tell any stories, this is the best story they've told in a long time. You can feel the hatred between these two. And that all out in the cage match, which is now a lights out match, which means weapons. Oh, they're going to absolutely destroy each other. I can't wait. So, that was AEW Dynamite. That was a really entertaining show. Nice little go home for All Out. But now, I'm in a little bit of a conundrum. Because tonight, along with Packers Eagles, we also have two shows that are showing at the same time. So we have WWE SmackDown and AEW Collision. Obviously, I can't cover both, so I'm going to leave that to you. Which one would you like to see me cover for Monday's video? Either it's SmackDown and Rampage, or it's going to be Collision and Rampage. Honestly, I'd be good for either or. I believe there is still a... you can decide my choice on my Twitter. And overall, a very fun week of pro wrestling so far. I do hope we get some more coming on tonight, which is obviously SmackDown and Collision at the same time. And then after is AEW Rampage, which, should be a really fun one. I can't wait. I hope you all are excited as I am. Let me know down below. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.